Welcome back to How Women Inspire. I'm your host, Julie Castro Abrams. And today I want to talk to you about something that has the power to ripple far beyond our own careers and circles. And that's really this container of mentoring, sponsorship, and advising. How we are sharing perspective and expertise that we've already built through hard work and discipline throughout our careers. Let me step back. The pillar of the How Women Lead credo is this countercultural invitation. So, the opposite of what the culture taught us, to be fierce advocates for each other, say yes to helping one another, to reinforce her voice when she isn't being heard, and to be unabashedly visible ourselves. Because the norm in our society is so damaging for women, we need to proactively think about how we're going to be different from what the culture taught us. Not just in the abstract, I'm talking about what happens when we, as senior leaders, seasoned leaders, show up not as heroes or saviors, but as partners and guides, believers, and future holders. Whether they're launching a climate tech startup, reinventing how we care for our community's health, or building a sustainable nonprofit tackling the greatest challenges our world is faced with. There are women leaders today who need access to knowledge, innovation, resources, and capital outside of their current capacity. They need us. They need you. I know you mentor a lot of people, probably far more than your fair share. But I want to encourage you, just give you a little perspective today to think out of the box of the mentoring and advising you've done up until today. And think about going across disciplines and the massive difference you can make and the tremendous impact it's going to have on you. So, if you can grab a piece of paper and a pen while we're doing this podcast, it would be ideal because I want you to walk away having gotten your arms around this a bit and thinking about the value you can bring to this critical opportunity in this moment in time. I want you to think about someone innovating, bringing a new concept to market. No one has ever done this before, and she needs supportive perspective. She needs great questions so she doesn't get lost in the trees. And in this case, no one has built it before. And it can feel intimidating to advise or mentor someone like that. You think they're so amazing that they're taking their life force and doing something courageous that you might not even feel like you could do today. But who better than you? I really want you to start to take notes right now and think about what you have to offer: tactical expertise, network, and perspective. Okay, I'm going to give you some specific examples. We're living right now today in a time of tremendous urgency: climate, health, equity, women, the changing workforce, the rise of AI. What is the impact going to be for us, but also for the people coming behind us? I think about my kids, right? It's overwhelming, but it is also super inspiring and fun if you lean into that part of it. We need women in those rooms defining the future. And it is imperative that we actively support the courageous women who are stepping up to lead the innovation and the policy and the care that our world desperately needs today. If they're going to succeed, they cannot do it alone. The barriers are too high. You don't have to build the business to change the world. And I want you to really understand that you can advise one. I'm going to give you an example. One of our How Women Invest Venture Fund investors, who's a limited partner, that's what you call an LP in a venture fund, she took our board seat for one of our portfolio companies on our behalf. And she's realizing that her role, far more than her technical expertise, which is why we thought she'd be great on this board, is really to help her understand as a founder how to stay in her power and not be pushed around by the other investors and board members. She's playing a bit of block and tackle, but coaching every step of the way. What do you want from your board and investors in the short run, in the long run? What should you invite them to engage with? Remember, we don't want to bring them any issues or questions that we don't really want them to dive in and try and help with or give perspective on. How can they be the most strategic advantage to you? You have decades of wisdom these founders, scientists, and engineers don't have. They have their own expertise, their PhD, that doesn't mean they know how to manage a board or strong-willed male venture capitalists. Someone out there is craving the perspective and experience that you have built. So what perspectives can you offer? I want you to think about, if you're going to look at your career, what size teams have you run? What kind of new products have you brought to market? Have you done change management? Have you had groups of people that you had to influence? Are there times when you had to do crisis management or really help a team gel or remove someone who was causing problems? These are all the kinds of things that are challenging for early in their career leaders, and certainly all of us, even if you've done it a lot of times. I've led and managed my entire career. I've been the CEO of things since I was 32, and I still need a sounding board because there are times I kind of forget what I already have experienced and know because I'm too in the weeds. So I want you to think about, what are all those different perspectives and resources that you have? And what about articles that you know, your favorite business book, other experts that you might have that you know? And then think, what are the questions I can ask? As an advisor, you want to ask great questions more than actually provide solutions. So, how are you able to show up as a partner? What are examples of when you've done it well, when you know you were in your best space and you were asking terrific questions? What are coaching questions people have asked you before? How have you been able to give constructive feedback? Because, of course, constructive feedback is not the same for different people, right? Everybody's different. It's not one size fits all. How will you evaluate the best way to deliver and ensure the relationship is trustful and that it stays paramount? Even if you disagree or they didn't take your advice, they're going to learn the hard way. But everybody has to go through their own process, right? So I want you to really start to think about, what are all those perspectives and things you have to bring to the table? One of the most powerful things I would say that a woman building something needs to hear from you. You need it, I know, but when she's putting herself out there and being courageous, the most important thing that she needs is for you to say, I see you. I see your value. I see your vision, and I believe in you. And I'm going to be by your side as a support no matter what happens, even if you make a mistake. That simple act of just noticing, encouraging, and offering a little time or support can be the difference between burnout and breakthrough. It can help someone get out of the swirl in their head and break through into that next thing that they need to accomplish. I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making the commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step. I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. So I want to give you an example for myself. I run a venture firm. I coach founders all the time. And we have a founder who was really spinning. She just had her second baby. She had a disaster in a warehouse. She had an idea to pivot her company. And then, with all the anti-D&I stuff that's been happening in the country, she has to completely pivot her whole company. I could tell she was frozen. She was not going to be able to figure out her way through. And for me, the best thing at that moment was to be compassionate and then to hire an executive coach. I said, listen, I'll pay for the first 5 sessions. And she's ended up paying for this person to continue to work with her over time. Advisors are not always the one to solve the problem. but they can be the person with the perspective and to read the experience right to know she's not gonna pick up the phone and get an executive coach on her own, even though she can afford it. I gotta get the ball rolling. They're asking you to walk beside them, even if it's just super briefly, while they're solving some of the biggest problems of our time, and you can be a part of that. So again, I want you to think about people you know. You have a network with some core resources, and I would say write these down because knowing you have them, just taking inventory can be extremely inspiring and motivating for you. Do you know an accountant, a talent expert, a coach, a sales expert, a brand expert, someone who understands digital transformation, somebody who understands how small companies and medium-sized companies are using AI today and what the risks are? Who's in your network that you could potentially bring to the table when you're advising someone? Hey, I have someone who in 2 hours can probably help you solve for this problem. Look on LinkedIn right now. Just pay attention as you go through your days. Just because we've talked about it today, it's gonna get in your mind and you're gonna start to build out that list, that go-to list of experts that's gonna make you the right on time value added advisor when you're ready. So we've talked a lot about people innovating, starting companies, for example. I want to help you think about another kind of innovation now. And I want to connect it to what's going on in the world. This is June of 2025. We're in a crisis, and a lot of us are under a lot of strain knowing what's happening in our country. You need to make a difference in the world if you want to be happy. You need to have an impact. So if you're having anxiety, if you're feeling depression or sadness, I really want you to understand that just reaching your hand out and stepping up and being supportive and having an impact, donating a couple $100 can be one of the most rewarding things for you right now for your depression, your psyche, your mental health. Your values are being challenged every minute in this environment. And this is what I think has got all of us so completely unnerved. I don't know what to do to stop it, but this can't be happening under my watch is what most of us are feeling. So I want you to think about the actions that you can take because I promise you it is going to be the salve that you need. It is going to take the brain space currently focused on anxiety and fear and transform that into a sense of, at least I did something. Advising a social impact leader or someone running a nonprofit, I don't want you to think about that as charity. I want you to think about that as being the work of your legacy. You are contributing to a mission, and how better to have a tremendous impact than the multiplier effect of supporting the under-resourced and likely exhausted leader of a social impact organization. Her innovation might be bringing clean water to a rural community in Africa. She might be ensuring reproductive rights, housing, jobs, or redesigning a caregiving system so women don't have to sacrifice everything to go to work and have a family. Your name might not be on that Nobel Prize or the press release, but you will know that you helped make it possible. It is stunning how something you take for granted can have such a tremendous impact on another leader. I was at an event recently, and I had one of those moments I'll never forget. There was someone there. I was being recognized. I got a little award, and someone was there, and I didn't even recognize her face. And she stood up and she said that she built her entire organization because she had an advisory call with me before she started. And I gave her the courage and some resources to move. One call, I forgot, but she didn't. And she's helping thousands of people now. So you never know what that impact might look like. But to me, I feel like I've done my work. So many of us, many of you listening to this are going to say, I'd love to do that, but I don't even know where to begin. So I want you to know that there are structures put in place that can make it easy for you to do this. First, I want to say at How Women Lead, we have a fellowship program. We vet social impact leaders around the globe. This is a program that's been around for over 20 years. We vet these women leaders and we provide extensive scholarships and say we will give you a year of support for your leadership. They do a deep dive leadership week in residence. They get an executive coach. One of the biggest issues for nonprofit and social impact leaders, they're isolated from power networks. And they're isolated from women like you who can provide them perspective. And so we have a program called Being a Global Advisor. You can advise a global leader in a formal structure. We train you, and you can get an opportunity to have an impact with a time-bound amount of time. Now, it's a 1-year commitment. You give an hour a month for a year to advise this person, but what really ends up happening is you become friends for life. And I have people who've been global advisors who say, "I'm gonna go to, my mentee's daughter's wedding in Kenya next month." People who 10, 20 years later are still close friends and supportive partners. So it could really be a game-changing experience that changes your life. So encourage you to think about being a global advisor for How Women Lead. We're doing a movement building cohort in July of 2025, an all Latina cohort in the fall of 2025. We're going to do another one that's like general global leaders, anyone running a social impact organization. They can even be entrepreneurs or someone running for public office, somebody who's doing social impact work and really pushing the boundaries of their own leadership capacity. But here's another idea. What if you put a LinkedIn note out there to someone you admire and say, "Hey, I wanted to make sure that you knew that if you ever need a sounding board of someone who'll just have your back, I respect what you're doing so much, and I would love to support you in that way. I've never run a nonprofit, but I've managed 10,000 people. I'd just be happy to be a sounding board for you because I admire you so much, no strings attached." I promise you, if you even send a message like that out to somebody, it will make their day, even if they don't take you up on it immediately. There's a woman right now who is smart and visionary and a little scared, and she's trying to solve one of the biggest challenges of our generation. And she's looking for someone who's just a few steps ahead of her in her career to say, "You're not alone, and let's do this together." So I want to leave you with this invitation today. Who can you mentor this month? What space could you open up for someone else's genius to shine? How could you use your power not to take the lead, but to light the way and be by someone's side and be her champion? We are the generation that breaks the cycle, that reaches back, that walks forward together. I want to encourage you to really take action in some small way today. It's going to be really good for you, and we need you. Thank you. Hope I'll see you advising and mentoring and sponsoring and supporting women